just wanted to close today's episode with something that I'm seeing from the field, that even as someone leading an AI company, super comfortable with change, super okay that everything is changing all the time. What we saw coming out of Fei-Fei Li's lab last week,
Labs, yeah.
last week, regarding not AI as in artificial intelligence, but SI as in spatial intelligence. I was like, what? I'm just getting my head around AI. Forget about SI. So very quickly.
For those who are not familiar with this aspect, Dr. Fei-Fei Li, she developed pioneering work using computer vision. So the computer vision is what we use to detect that a bottle has a cap, right? Or a cat is a cat. It's kind of foundation, critical technology back then, breakthrough technology. Right now, recently, she's working, of course, in the next frontier of artificial intelligence.
The next frontier of artificial intelligence, which means that
moving.
artificial intelligence.
And you think it's done?
He's no longer
you think it's done?
frontier anymore.
No.
Yep.
We all have seen how you can take a picture and animate a picture.
Yep.
Now, this is the interesting part. World Labs have developed a product where from one picture, imagine you're taking a picture from a room. Mm-hmm. The artificial intelligence converts that picture into a 3D environment. But not only 3D, like you can move around.
Should I bring it up? I'm wondering if it
you
makes sense to bring it up.
You can actually navigate around it.
Okay, so I have mine open. Alrighty. So walk us through, also for those of us that are just listening in, what are we looking at?
So Dr. Fei-Fei Li, it's this celebrity in the artificial intelligence world. She pioneered computer vision techniques, where you could use images, of course, to be used to recognize objects, right? So right now she's working on the next frontier of artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so it's not over. It's not over yet. The magical part is that we all have seen that you can take a picture and animate that picture or make a movie out of that picture. Now the new thing that we're seeing with Marvel is that Marvel is that you can take a picture and create a 3D representation of such picture.
Yep.
Like for example, we have something here, right? Like let's say this example.
Yeah. So for those just looking, it kind of looks very much to a.
We're seeing it here.
Older, but if you're just listening, for example, it's like an older kind of.
Yeah, like an older
courtyard could be gives me German vibes.
Yeah,
could be Italy.
Aisle, right? And the funny part or the interesting part is that you could, let's say, do a 360 loop, right? You can look around. This is completely automatically generated. However, you can actually walk into this aisle. This is completely AI generated, right? You can walk back, forward, as if it was a video game, right? I'm going to, let's say, zoom out, so you could see how all this model is generating all the aisles, the space, the tridimensional aspects, right? Let me go to one that is ours, right? For example, this one, if you can see it, this is our, this is Brittany, Arthur, and this is one of the desks at the office. And in a couple of seconds, this image is generating the 3D representation.
So up until now, it's like you're looking at it, you're like, oh, okay, it looks some kind of like a 3D photo. But then as you start exploring, and for example, you go through here, you walk down the hallway, you're seeing that it's rendering as you're moving, and that this photo just keeps growing, and now it looks like some kind of spaceship. And you think, oh my goodness. So one of the things, in terms of applications, because in terms of technology, I'd love to hear your thoughts on AI moving from reading and writing to seeing and kind of doing, essentially, is like what we're seeing here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but as someone that's trying to understand deeply the use cases, and what about the applications? When can I introduce this to a customer, or when can I introduce this to a client, for example? And, obviously, us being here in Japan, I like to kind of go deeply into what people are dealing with, what are the real issues that we're dealing with, and one thing, obviously, in Japan that we struggle with is space, right? We super struggle with space, and also the cost of space. Like even, for example, if you are wanting to prototype, which office layout is best for you, you know, using this, for example, being able to simulate, you know, in a hospital, multiple different layouts for patients and nurses. I mean, you really start thinking, you know, being that human-centered AI approach, what are the problems, right? Because if you look at this, you go, yes, the technology is obviously super cool, but it's not about it just being cool technology. It's about what problems can it solve, right? That's what human-centered AI is. It's what's the user problem. And you know, some of the user problems that we're dealing with in Japan are.
So the question is, so what?
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. Kind of so what?
Can I buy an onigiri with this technology?
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with problems with, like, you know, space in Tokyo being super expensive. What about an aging population? You know, all these kinds of things, and then we can see how this can connect.
So it's one responsible activity that we appreciate from the Scientific Japan team is that we want to share what is the AI. Or we want to demystify the AI. Mm-hmm. What is the AI part that is tangible right now, and what is the AI that is still a little bit far ahead? What we're observing here is the results of recent research, recent investigation. It's not really something that you could right-click, implement.
No, this isn't in ChatGPT yet, yeah, for example.
However, this is a product that you can literally open, sign up, and start using it. This is a real picture. Now, what is the, let's say, the interesting part for all of us? Like a few months ago, or still today, a lot of people is focusing on the large language models in the ChatGPTs, in the
right.
Groks,
AI is ChatGPT only, for example.
Like AI can talk to you. That means that finance can delegate some things, but operations still has to work. They're like, okay, but I still have to load this truck, so I'm safe. However, when you start seeing that AI is moving from the digital world to the 3D world, when you start identifying that there's a chair and the chair has a limit, when there's an aisle and the aisle has a width, a composition, then it could create limits. If this happened, don't cross that wall. There's a chair, you can go on top of that chair. If you move it, it can make sense, it can remember what happened there. That means that decisions on the artificial intelligence sense can be made or transferred into the physical world, which means that logistics, operation, transportation, mobility, all, let's say, the second or the next wave of activities is going to be benefited, impacted positively. Of course, we all want, right, to achieve more at speed. What does that mean for the regular person? Means that the AI will be part of my day-to-day. That now maybe I could simulate how can I load this car in a more efficient way. Yep. Where should I put all the packages that I would have to deliver? What if we order the cars or coordinate with the suppliers the way they arrive, so our outbound logistics happens in a shorter amount of time? How can we configure our tables so the patients can come faster into our pharmacy, right? So now these kind of technologies enables the what if, right? Enables more possibilities, right? And as people who look forward into the future, who wants to anticipate what's coming, right? So these are aspects that are happening already that give us that can give us a sense of what do we need to do, how can we prepare for what is getting cooked or what is getting ready.
Right, and I think this is an interesting kind of progression, the idea of, you know, we're currently dealing with, you know, LLMs, and that's perhaps people's most common association of AI, then moving, for example, to the digital world. So, for example, this 3D world, what we're just seeing, for example, with the work that Dr. Fei-Fei Li is leading. And then, for example, our kind of next step, which is that physical AI, robotics, and things like that, which we're very interested in, particularly in Japan, because we are, you know, if you remember, I mean, this is also your usual famous story that when Jensen Huang is usually giving his presentations, what do we see?
In the Nvidia keynotes, when Jensen Huang is presenting, of course, all the Nvidia ecosystem, there's a moment when I call it the robotics parade, right? Yep. He stands up and all the robots stand behind him doing something. And of course, double click and you could see the robots, what's the name? They're actually companies, right? And we see companies from many countries. United States, of course, Chinese companies.
Canada,
Germany, India.
Yep.
However, we're still waiting for the breakthrough Not awaiting, that's not the word. So we've seen many countries
Or we
happening
would
under.
expect in that moment to also see a Japanese robot, but we don't, right? And so this for us, for example, is very, very interesting, as in how can we make sure that that Japan, which is synonymous with excellent manufacturing, that also, you know, if we think about robots, I mean, Japan certainly has a place in the robotics field, but where are we in terms of an AI powered robot, for example? So I think this is very interesting that we're following this progression from the, you know, just, you know, reading and writing through to that physical digital world, that, you know, it's not just predicting things in our factories, it's running our factories, and then actually then moving to robotics in the physical world. So we are watching with great anticipation. I think this is also something, I mean, certainly if you can go ahead over to Marble Labs and sign up. Yeah, play around, have a good time, and just see what it's about. I also, you know, for example, when it comes to applications, I think this is also really interesting where you can, you know, think about this as what would this mean for you? What would this mean for your life? What would this mean for your own context? You know, and just start thinking about that. All right, so I think I guess that's it for today's episode. So our big news: we are official training partners for the Microsoft Elevate in Japan to policymakers and government officials. So as usual, as you know, in Japan, we are an economy of trust, and if you are trusted by the government, usually you're pretty okay. Second big news was that we have our Human-Centered AI Leadership Academy, which really equips people to develop their own thinking around AI, but also gives you some really great tools and frameworks about how to think, how to then approach AI at an industrial level. And then, my goodness, this spatial intelligence thing coming out of Dr. Fei-Fei Li's labs. I mean, that is some interesting stuff to watch.
So that's what is, let's say, the moving frontier of AI, which means also what Brittany, what you mentioned many times. The AI revolution is not a sprint.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon. So things will keep changing, and it's better if you walk, run, and then or jump into the motorcycle and accelerate.
Exactly. Alrighty, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.